Althea Reyes grew up in the small fishing town of Cavite in the Philippines, where the ocean wind carried music through coconut trees and tin roofs. Her family lived humbly. Her mother sold food at the market and her father fixed boats, and though they never had much, they always had music. Althea discovered her voice long before she understood what opera was. She would hum to the rhythm of waves, sing to the stray cats wandering the alleys, and mimic every song she heard on the old radio near the window. But when her mother once played a recording of Luciano Pavarotti singing Nessun Dorma, something changed. Althea froze. She didn't know the language or meaning, yet the sound filled her chest with electricity. She replayed it again and again until her voice learned to follow. At first, her parents laughed, thinking it was just a phase, but laughter quickly turned into stunned silence when they realized her voice was growing stronger, clearer, astonishing. By the time Althea turned 10, she had already performed in school events and small church gatherings, but she knew there was a world beyond the borders of her town. One night, while scrolling YouTube on her father's borrowed phone, she stumbled on a video, a girl not much older than her receiving a golden buzzer on America's Got Talent. The confetti, the cheers, the tears. Althea whispered to herself, "That will be me someday." Dreams are heavy when the world tells you they're impossible. Flights cost more than her family earned in months. They had no savings, no sponsor, no plan. But faith, just like music, has a way of opening doors. Months later, a Filipino-American vocal coach visiting Manila heard Althea sing during a local competition. When he approached her family backstage, he wasn't smiling casually, he looked stunned. He told them he had spent his entire career training voices, yet never heard one like hers at her age. That night, he helped record a video audition and sent it to the producers of America's Got Talent. Weeks passed, then one morning, everything changed. Her mother opened an email, screamed, and collapsed into tears. Althea had been invited to audition live in Los Angeles. Traveling to America felt unreal. The airplane windows showed clouds like mountains of cotton and cities sparkling like galaxies. When they finally arrived at the AGT stage, Althea felt smaller than ever. The building was enormous. Cameras everywhere. Contestants pacing, praying, sweating. But she didn't look scared. Inside, her heart was roaring with purpose. When her turn finally came, she walked onto the stage wearing a simple white dress and shoes slightly too big. The audience noticed her small frame and shy smile, and many didn't expect much. Simon Cowell leaned forward with that familiar eyebrow raised. "Hello," he said, his voice neutral. "What's your name?" "My name is Althea Reyes," she replied softly. "And how old are you?" "I'm 10 years old." 10. Simon repeated, surprised. "And what will you be doing for us today?" The audience expected pop, maybe Disney, but when she answered, everyone froze. "Opera." There was a murmur, a few gasps, a few doubtful whispers. Opera was hard. Opera was rare. Opera was something adults trained decades to master. Simon stared, expression unreadable, and finally said, "Whenever you're ready." The music began, a haunting orchestral opening. Althea closed her eyes, breathed in, and then she unleashed a voice so powerful, so unexpectedly mature, that the audience stopped moving. People leaned forward as if gravity had shifted. Her voice soared through the theater with perfect control, hitting impossibly high notes with elegance and emotion. Halfway through the song, something happened that made the moment unforgettable. One of the judges wiped away tears. Another pressed their hand to their chest as if physically affected. The audience began rising, first one person, then dozens, then hundreds, until the entire auditorium stood on its feet before she even reached the final note. Then came the twist. As the last note echoed, the orchestra cut, but Althea held the tone longer than expected, her voice rising even higher in a breathtaking improvisation that wasn't part of the original arrangement. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't planned. It was instinct, pure talent. Simon's eyes widened in shock. When she finally ended, the room erupted with cheers so loud the cameras shook. The judges spoke, but Simon Cowell didn't. He stared at her silently, studying her like a rare treasure. Then, without warning, he stood up, walked toward the judge's desk, and slammed the golden buzzer. The world exploded into gold confetti. Althea covered her face and cried as her mother rushed onto the stage. Simon approached her after, and with genuine awe in his voice said, "I've listened to thousands of singers in my life, but voices like yours come once in a lifetime." You're not just a performer. You're a phenomenon. Within hours, the clip hit the internet. Millions watched. Comments poured in. People said they replayed the video dozens of times because they couldn't believe a child could sound like that. Celebrities reacted. News outlets shared her story. And suddenly, Althea Reyes wasn't just a contestant, she was a worldwide sensation. What nobody knew was that her journey had just begun. As the live finals approached, she faced pressure, vocal challenges, and online comparisons, some supportive, others cruel. But every time doubt whispered, she remembered the voice she heard as a little girl, Pavarotti singing into a world she hadn't yet seen. She wasn't singing to win. She was singing to belong. In the finals, she performed again, this time with a new twist that shocked everyone. She paired opera with a modern orchestral remix. Risky. Unpredictable. Genius. When she finished, the audience's reaction was even louder than before. She didn't just perform. She made history. Now her story continues, inspiring millions of young dreamers around the world who dare to believe that no dream is too big and no dreamer is too small. Before you scroll, make sure you subscribe for more stories like this. And tell me in the comments, from which part of the world are you watching this?